Good evening, humans. Tyrannosaurusmoth here, and welcome to another episode of PlastiCombat. This is the series where I take a look at two different takes on either the same character, same archetype, etc., and help you decide whether one or both are right for you. So tonight in the arena, we have two Sergeant Slaughters. We have one as part of G.I. Joe's Classified series, and the other as part of Valaverse's Action Force series. Both very similar takes on the Sergeant Slaughter character, but there's a lot of key differences. So let's pit them against each other. Let's do this.
Round one, fight!
Round one is aesthetics, and as I stated mere moments ago, these are very similar takes on Sergeant Slaughter, and so we got the same visual beats. Certainly, I mean, these are accessories, but the hats, the hat, the glasses, the black tank top, and the kind of olive drab / camo pants, and then the boots on these are actually pretty much exactly the same, except for some more detailing on the Valaverse. And so while we have them here, the immediate difference you can see is definitely height. Height and I guess girth, because the Classified series is definitely taller and like just bulkier, more similar in build to what we saw from Crocmaster earlier in the year. And our Valaverse character, our Valaverse Sergeant Slaughter is built on, the Karak body, so pretty much the same pants, different color, the same tank top, just obviously instead of black instead of gray. And yeah, so similar proportions with those figures, but yeah, in terms of right off the bat, like very, very different there. Also detailing being different, where we get a white belt with a gold buckle for Classified series, and then Action Force gets kind of the just green belt with the black belt buckle. And then, as I'd pointed out before, details in the boots, whoa, pardon that, we're actually going to get to that in accessories too. So as we can see, pardon me, the same design in the boots, but I do like that Valaverse added the black as part of the tongue. It just kind of gives it a little more oomph, I think, visually. And then I guess since the hat's off, we'll move there next. And actually, let's talk about the hats themselves. Actually, we're gonna do this in the next section, so I'll wait on that. But for the head, so obviously we get a bald Sergeant Slaughter from Valaverse, and then the kind of combed hair for the Classified series. So different takes altogether there. And then we can take the glasses off, and we'll look at the face sculpts and the approaches there. And as you can see, these are actually pretty different. I think they definitely both read as Sergeant Slaughter. However, the Classified series is based a little bit more off the actual comic version of Sergeant Slaughter, and I think that definitely shows here. I mean, it's definitely Sergeant Slaughter, but in terms of like the actual person Sergeant Slaughter, I think the Valaverse definitely looks more like him, even with the especially I would say with the exaggerated chin and just the expression. It's just this looks more like he looks in real life, even if this is probably, I guess, kind of body shape wise a little bit closer to how he looked, even with the comicification of it, if you will. So yeah, those are pretty much the main differences. Everything else is as you would expect. So and then I guess finally the pants, we get actual straight up camo for Classified series, where it's just olive drab on the Valaverse. So in terms of aesthetics, it's definitely going to be a personal choice. Like I said, I actually really like the body that they used for the Classified series, though the likeness I think is definitely better on Valaverse. So and you can't really change the heads, because as I'm sure you can see, they're not really a similar shape. They're probably different pegs as well, different size pegs, and yeah, it just wouldn't look right. So yeah, there's no swapping that I know of. I haven't seen anyone do it yet, but yeah, so that is aesthetics.
Round two, fight!
Round two is accessories, and this is probably where we have the biggest differences, the most apparent differences, and honestly, they're almost the same amount of pieces. We get, I think, 19 with the Valaverse, but we get 16 with the Classified series. So definitely a good assortment either way. You can't go wrong, but definitely going to depend on, I guess, kind of what you're looking for. And I'll start with Valaverse since it has more. We do get some things that we have seen with other Valaverse figures. So we get a backpack in that olive drab, we get a vest, we get actually two different hats, not just his signature hat, but also this more kind of standard issue military cap. I'm sure there's a name for it that I'm missing, so please correct me in the comments if you know what this is actually called. I knew it at one point, and it's escaping me now because I'm recording. So there's that. Of course, we get these signature shades, and then we also get some web gear. I went over all this in my review of this figure, so you can check that out if you want the full rundown. But then the assortment of hands and a couple of weapons, as well as a stand. We do not get a stand for the classified series, and we don't really get anything in terms of apparel except for the hat and glasses. And again, these are where some differences come in, where we get a brown hat for classified series. It's more of an olive drab for the Valiverse. We also get the badge on the front of the classified series, as well as a black band, black band on the Valiverse as well, actually, now that I'm looking at them up close. Pardon the lack of focus here. I don't know what's going on there. There we go. And another key difference here is that there's more of a pliability to the classified series, and it is very hard plastic for the Valiverse. And I gotta say, I think I prefer the classified hat here just because it does fit on the head of the figure a lot better. This one definitely sits on the head of the Valiverse figure, but it's a little annoying to get on there, especially when you combine that with the glasses, which we'll move on to. And so again, we get those aviators with both of them, but we get silver lenses with brown frames with the classified, and then gold lenses. Gold frames with black lenses for the Valiverse, and both are kind of pliable. But the classified definitely fit on the head better. You don't have to worry about them falling off quite as much. So I gotta say I prefer the color of the Valiverse, but the better glasses overall I think come with the classified. So that is those. Then for hands, so both come with fists. Both have standard gripping hands, though for the classified they kind of went halfway between a trigger finger and just a standard gripping hand, where we get both trigger fingers and standard grips with the Valiverse. Also, no vertical hinges on the classified, which makes me a little sad, and we do get that with the trigger hands on the Valiverse, so that's definitely a point over there. More similarities / differences. We get one pointing finger, a right pointing finger with Valiverse, but we get a left and a right with classified, which is nice to have options. And then finally, we do have 2 cupping hands for Valiverse, and then 2 grasping hands for the classified. So that's again going to be a preference thing. And then weapons. So we get a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher and a revolver with Valiverse, and then we get the kind of assault rifle with the classified with some nice paint on it as well. So really, quality of the weapons for both I think are great. And then our assault rifle here also has a scope and a removable clip for classified. And then finally, I guess I could have included this in apparel, but classified also comes with a whistle, which is definitely a signature of the Sergeant Slaughter character, as well as the kind of riding crop. Is that what this is? It looks like a riding crop to me, so that's what I'm going to call it. But some really good details, especially with the gold there. So we do not get those things with the Valiverse. So you get a lot of signature stuff. I think you get more signature stuff with the classified. Oh, and the one thing I forgot to actually mention is that the classified actually comes with his own action figure, and that's amazing. It comes on a card. The card is removable. You can see you can just kind of fold these plastic pieces out, and then remove that. So honestly, that's a major point I think in the way of the classified series, because but again, that's like accessory of the year contender because of that, just the meta-ness and the acknowledgement there. So this is a close call, and you get more modularity with Valiverse. So personally, I slightly lean to classified series, but honestly I think it's anyone's game in this round.
Final round, fight!
Final round is articulation, and honestly both figures, the articulation is positively fantastic, and there are a lot of similar beats, so I'm definitely going to focus more on the differences here. And some of this will come down to preference, but I believe that the real difference here is really in the figure feel, and I'll explain what I mean in a little bit. So as you can see, they can both hold a freestanding kick like no one's business, so there's absolutely no issues there. I'm gonna bring them back to neutral so we can kind of get a better read here. Pardon me, they're probably gonna be in awkward poses here. So bring them back down to neutral. And our first differences definitely come with the head. So we have a ball and joint for action force, ball peg. So we are getting some like fantastic range. Like you honestly cannot beat that amount of up and down, which is just great. We do have a ball joint into a neck piece for the classified. So we're actually not, despite that, we're actually not getting too much down, and even up. We're definitely looking up, but we're not getting quite the range. So it's not as crazy as it should be with this assortment. And I think Hasbro is still kind of, as a company, kind of hashing out the whole separate neck piece thing, because most of the figures I've had with that haven't given figures any more like real range. Second will be butterfly joints, where we're definitely getting deeper range out of Valaverse. So classified series in general hasn't had the best butterfly joints in my opinion. So as you can see, there's some movement back and forth, but it's not anything that's really going to get you any sort of deep poses. And, you know, Valaverse, we're kind of coming all the way forward and getting just about, not all the way back, but definitely a lot more than we are here. Beyond that, our torsos are different. So we're 2 ball joints for Valaverse, and then a ab crunch with a ball at the waist for classified series. And I prefer this arrangement. However, this is done so well, I think that's negligible here. I think they both just work beautifully. So honestly, that for me, that's actually not an issue in this case, which is really weird to say. Both have drop down hips, both have thigh cut, both have double jointed knees. You know, the feet are exactly the same. So what I meant earlier by it comes down to figure feel, it's actually kind of, it's more fun to pose the classified series. And I don't know how to describe that really beyond. The joints have a nice fluidity to them, where if you have any experience with Valaverse, you know that these figures are very stiff, certainly out of the package. You have to heat them up. And even then, it takes some working and a lot more posing to kind of wear the detents down enough to where, you know, the movement's a little more free. So, and I think that's also part of it just being a newer company and kind of them getting their bearings in that regard. So I think in terms of just the niceness and the fun factor in terms of posing, this is definitely classified series. But in terms of all-around range and some of my own personal preferences, it goes to Valaverse. So kind of a tie, kind of not. I mean, again, I think I'm slightly more classified series, but I love both.
Finish him!
So final thoughts, decision, etc. You know, there's a lot of great things about both of these figures, but I think overall, just as a great Sergeant Slaughter figure in particular, that it has a lot of fun factor, I've got to go with classified series. They're both great. I definitely like the likeness better on the Valaverse, and you know, some of the range of articulation, certainly for my preferences, but also with the range of the head and the shoulders, definitely better there. But overall, just I think as a Sergeant Slaughter figure, you cannot go wrong with the classified. I mean, they're both great and worth picking up. So in that case, I would say it's a tie. However, you know, if I have to make a decision, have to go, what's the better Sergeant Slaughter figure? I definitely go with classified. So, you know, I hope that through all of this, I helped you make a decision. If you were maybe a little bit torn, you weren't sure like which one to go with, because I think this is definitely a case more than a lot of other figures to where that could come in, because they are so similar yet so different. And certainly if you're a big Sergeant Slaughter fan, definitely get both, because it's worth it. And some of the accessories you can just switch between the two. I mean, they're both 1/12, even if they aren't quite the same height. So, you know, there's definitely interchangeability there as well, and that I think is a case for getting both. So yeah, depending on how you feel about that, then that should hopefully help you make a decision. And you know, I hope overall that was the point with these PlastiCombats, is to help you make that decision. So I hope I helped with that, and if I did, you know, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm trying to make it to that magical 1,000 subs, so I can get monetized and stuff like that. So I appreciate every one of you. And in any event, you know, I just, you know, like making these videos, and this was definitely a fun one to do. This is one I was looking forward to the second that the classified one was announced, because, you know, there's a lot to talk about here. So yeah, let me know in the comments which one you decide on, or if you decide to get both. And yeah, beyond that, I just want to thank you so much for watching. And you know, with all of that being said, I hope to see you here for another video. So you know, I hope you take care of yourself, take care of those around you, and most importantly, stay weird, simians.